This video is going to cover the writing process for Project 6, which is your cause and effect essay. So remember that the writing process has 6 steps according to 2.1 in our textbook. And the steps are pre-writing, planning, drafting, revising, editing, and lastly, submitting. For the first step of this paper, you're going to have to read Death from Below, our Summer of Shark Attacks in 15.2c in our textbook. And this essay is going to give you an idea of the type of essay that you should write and also an idea for topics for your paper. So the prompt for this assignment is, what other subjects inspire both fascination and fear? Okay, and pay attention to that when reading this sample essay. He talks about shark attacks and how sharks inspire fear and fascination. So once you've chosen your own topic that relates to fascination and fear, write a 5-paragraph essay in which you explore the effects at work in this topic, the causes and effects. Okay, so you probably will use sources in this paper, and that means you'll have to do some research. So to start off, you first need to come up with your topic. And I recommend asking yourself this question: what is something that causes fear? And we could come up with a long list of these, but then to help narrow down that fear, ask yourself the second question: is there fascination with this fear? And that's where reading this sample essay in our textbook will help you understand what is meant by fascination. If you can come up with no fascination around this fear, then choose a different fear. Now, ideally, I'd like you to generate at least 3 options of something that causes us fear and fascination before you choose which one you want to write on for this essay. So pause this video and take a few minutes to come up with the topic that you want to write on. Before you move on to planning for this essay, there are still some steps we need to go through. First, you need to analyze the rhetorical situation, and that is the purpose. So the purpose of this paper is to bring about a deeper understanding for your reader of the fascination and fear of this topic. Your readers are going to be your classmates or those with an interest in this topic. So imagine that's who you're writing for, even though your instructor is the only one reading this assignment. And then for your topic, that is what you chose on the previous screen with your brainstorming. Now you're ready to move on to the research portion. For this project, you're going to need to find sources to support what you're saying, and you need to make sure your sources are credible. You might want to go back and review page 1.1d in our textbook to refresh your memory on how to determine if a source is credible. You may use the ORU library or the internet to find your sources. Now, what exactly are you going to be looking for when you do this research? And to help you with that, it may be beneficial to take a few moments and brainstorm, what do you think are the causes of this fear and the effects of this fear? So kind of come up with a working thesis or hypothesis in your mind. And you can use these 2 questions to help you. What is the cause or reason behind this fear for column 1? What is the effect or result of this fear for column 2? Now, as you do your research, you may find that the answer is different from what you listed here, and that's okay. Go where your research leads you. And then one last note on note-taking. Remember, it's helpful to have a research log where you list the works cited citation, quotes from the source, the ideas, and your reflections on the source, and that when you write down quotes in your log, make sure to put quotation marks around them so that when you go to write your draft, you know that these are the words of your source and not your own words. Okay, go ahead and pause this video and get researching. We're now moving on to the planning process of this project, and the first thing you'll want to do is go back and reflect on this kind of brainstorming idea that you did for your research and see, do you need to make changes to what you believe the 3 main causes of this fear are and its effects. And once you have this updated, you're now going to work on turning it into a thesis. So if you go to page 15.1b in our textbook, it'll give you 2 options. If you want to focus more on causes in this paper, you would write a thesis statement like this: based on a close examination of the forces at work, we can conclude that A and B are the fundamental causes of C. So you would pull from your causes to then describe the results. If you want to focus more on the effects in your paper, you would write this type of thesis statement: based on a close examination of the forces at work, we can conclude that the most important results of A have been X, Y, Z. So you would start with the effects and then go to the causes. All right, go ahead, pause this video and write your thesis sentence. Next, now that you have your thesis, you need to work on creating an outline to support this thesis. What I recommend doing is taking a piece of paper, writing your thesis on the top, and then below it writing out 3 main ideas that you have that support and prove this thesis to be true. Underneath each main idea, then write your supporting details. That would be things like quotes or facts that you found when doing your research. And if you look at your thesis sentence from the previous slide that you made, you can even look at the format like A and B to help you. So A and B can maybe be point 1 and point 2. Or it could even be, if you're doing the effects thesis, X, Y, Z. Point 1 could be X, point 2, Y, and point 3, Z. Once you have your outline, you're ready to start drafting. Remember, an introduction paragraph should state something interesting about the topic to drag your reader in, establish what you want the paper to accomplish, and provide your thesis. And your body paragraphs need to support this thesis statement by providing your evidence and reasons. And your conclusion should restate the main point of your thesis and then show the implications of what you've learned about the sphere of fascination. If you need more help in writing these paragraphs, you can consult these resources in our textbook. Now, one more thing I want to say before you start drafting your paper is that in academic paragraphs, there are really 4 criteria that you should have. 1, every academic paragraph should start with the main idea or the topic sentence that unifies the whole paragraph. After that, you need to provide your evidence that relates back to this main idea. That could be facts, examples, illustrations, etc. And you need to provide citations to show where you got this evidence. Even if you're putting the evidence in your own words, you still need to state where this evidence came from. Next, you need to analyze this evidence, and I recommend 1 sentence of analysis for each evidence point that you have in your paragraph. If you have just 1 big evidence point, then you need at least 1 sentence analyzing what that evidence means and how you're interpreting it. If you have 2 pieces of evidence, then 1 sentence of analysis for each piece. Then lastly, it's what I call a link or a conclusion sentence. In this sentence, you need to explain how the evidence and analysis and this main idea connect back to your thesis and prove that your thesis is true. All right, now that you have these 4 ideas for your academic paragraphs, which are mainly your body paragraphs, right here, these 3. So use those 4 points for these blue paragraphs. Now go ahead, pause this video, and begin drafting your paper. When revising this paper, you need to look at the rhetorical situation. So does your introduction have a thesis? Is the purpose of this essay clear? Have you made the fear fascination that you're talking about clear? And then for the body paragraphs, look for these elements. Does each body paragraph support the thesis? All right. Does this paragraph prove that what you're saying in your thesis statement is true? Does each paragraph have a topic sentence? Is there coherence and unity? Does each paragraph have a concluding sentence? And then are there transitions between ideas? And is each piece of evidence analyzed? So go ahead and pause this video and go through your paper and ask these questions. We're now on step 5 out of 6 of the writing process, where we edit our paper. So this is where we look at more of the mechanical issues. And remember, you can always use Grammarly or Smart Thinking Tutoring to help you. So for sources, go back and make sure, did you put quotation marks around the words from your sources? Do you include in-text citations for facts, ideas, and words from your sources? And do you have your works cited page? Then for mechanics, make sure, are you following MLA formatting? Did you use proper capitalization and comma usage? Remember our rules from Unit 1. Do you vary your sentence structure? We covered that in Unit 4. Is your paper free of comma splices, run-ons, and fragments that we covered last week in Unit 5? And then for this week, do you use appropriate and concise language? Now, one other thing that is easy to do at the proofreading stage is add in transitions to your writing. So transitions are used to improve the clarity. Just like when we were doing process writing and we used transition words like first, second, or third to move between the different stages, transitions in your essays service similar function, although we usually use more sophisticated words like however or although or in addition. So you should use transition words at the beginning or end of a paragraph when you're moving between your different points. You can use them between pieces of evidence within a paragraph or between evidence and a quote and analysis. Now, you should always have a bit of a transition phrase when introducing a quote. So a transition phrase would be something like the author's last name, and then the title says blank. So we could say Jones in his article on sharks says blank. So go ahead and pause this video, and just a real quick reference, for a list of transition words, see 15.3a in our textbook. All right, go ahead, pause this video, and edit and proofread your essay. Okay, the last step. Congratulations, you are done with your paper. The only thing you now need to do is save it as a docx file and upload it to our course page under Assessments, and go to the Dropbox and select Project 6.